Welcome to Seasonal Pathways ECE Leadership Vodcast, where we take a look at early care and education leadership through the eyes of the legacy leader, the executive leader, the advancing leader, and the emerging leader.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast. We've been talking about the 5 C's, and today we're going to talk about commitment. And with us, we have Robin Stevenson and Lindsay Walker, and I'm Bobette Thompson. Commitment is a big part of our character. Commitment is one of the big parts of integrity as well, in my mind. So we're going to talk about what it means to us and how it fits into what we do as leaders and how important it is in every phase of our leadership. Robin, you want to start?
Commitment is a big deal to me. We recently put a post on Facebook that said something to the effect of commitment is a promise that you keep. And I think that's something that has been a little bit misused in recent years. And I was actually thinking about that today. I think part of it is because we have so many options in our life on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of times we commit to doing things before we really realize, what are we committing to? How much time is it going to take? Can we really get it done? What the reality to fulfill that commitment looks like. And so I think sometimes we commit without really understanding what we're committing to. But I also think today we have a tendency to break our commitments pretty easily. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that too. But I'm curious to what you guys think about the whole idea of having too many options and being overcommitted.
Because obviously it's become, we all deal with this within our own centers. Whenever you're trying to hire, especially, people ghost, right? And I think things like Indeed have, while it's created a wealth of opportunity for people, it's just so easy to apply for your dream job. But it has also created this problem where, it's just so quick and easy to apply somewhere. And so it's very easy to also just ghost someone without thinking twice about it. Yeah, I think that we just have so many options. Everything is just too easy. I think we're all still trying to navigate the solutions for that.
I agree. I think that we as a profession tend to be people pleasers. And so we want to please everybody. So we'll say yes to everything. And that's not always the best thing for us or for whatever they're asking us to do. And what I think we do is that, it's a promise and it's an agreement. And it's not just to the person or entity, organization that you're out and out promised to, but to yourself. And we're letting ourselves down by not following through. I think it's the failure to fulfill that commitment. It questions our integrity. It questions our real commitment to things. But things like core values. If you have core values, you post core values, and then you don't live it, you don't have core values. So it's all of those things put together that we just have gotten kind of slammed with. And you're absolutely right, Lindsay. We have gotten hurt so badly with all of the ways that people can make a commitment to us and then not fulfill it, that it's gotten to be acceptable. And I don't know how we turn it. I think the best way to do it is by leading. And don't commit to something you can't fulfill. And if it's something, and this is again my thing, but if it's something that you think you might like to, but you're not sure, commit to a shorter time, smaller piece of it that you can fulfill. Then you go on to the next one, you say, okay, I'm just not going to be able to do this, but at least you fulfill the part you said you would do. And I think a lot of people don't do that. And those who do it stand out.
Absolutely. Yes.
I agree.
As you were talking, I was also wondering, we have this huge mental health crisis going on in our country. And I wonder if this is just a piece of it. Obviously, it's never going to boil down to one thing. But the idea of it just being so casual to ghost, does this create a cognitive dissonance within internally with people's own values that they may hold? And is that affecting their mental health? I think that's a possibility, at least.
I think it all goes to mental health. There's so many things, again, bombarding us. And we're not teaching people to handle things,
Right.
commitment, so that it's not something that terrifies them or depresses them or scares it, whatever, that it contributes more to a mental health concern. If you know
I
that-
totally agree with you, Lindsay. And I know this because I just got back from this, 2-week vacation, and I had committed to myself, in my calendar that I was going to do a few of these things while I was on vacation, because we're still trying to get, everything out there we want to give to all of our people. And I didn't get any of it done. And I came back beating myself up. So the respite that I had, right?
Mhm.
My mental health said, you didn't fulfill what you committed. So even when we're cognizant of the fact that, we shouldn't do, some of us still do. The other piece of that whole commitment that you were talking about, Bobette, too, was, I think a lot of times leaders, and I think it depends on what stage of leadership you're in as well, and how much experience you've had with some of this, because we want committed people on our teams. Well, what does commitment mean? And I have experienced myself where some people mean commitment means 24/7. You answer my calls, you do more than what you are asked, or more than what you're paid. And I think anybody with strong leadership skills always gives more than 100%. But that doesn't mean they should be giving 150% and 24/7. And I think that gets misconstrued. So I think a question, and maybe some input we need to have to our audience is, when you talk about commitment, what does that need to look like in your center?
Well, I think it's an opportunity to help them understand what commitment is. And so if you have the same level of commitment from each person, or at least a definition of it that says, this is, it's your expectation of what they're going to do. They're going to have a lesson plan every week. They commit to doing a lesson plan. They get the lesson plan done. Then they commit to reviewing the lesson plan. It's in steps. It's not just get to the end. You've got to give it little bite-sized pieces that they accomplish, they feel like, and you keep going, yes, you committed to that, and reminding them that that's what this is. It's not just your job, every piece of it.
Right.
Commitment to the children. That's the thing, that when people ghost us or walk out, they're walking out on those children. I understand they can get upset with the big people, but the commitment I've got to be to those children, and it just breaks my heart that they can do that with seemingly no conscience about it. And I'm not saying everybody, I know things happen and people have situations come up beyond their control, but it's gotten to be, as we said, more acceptable. I hope that that's something that will change. And I think, Robin, to your point about the 150%, I'm already seeing that change. You and I, from the generation we're in, work. That's not what the younger people coming into leadership, that's not what they want. They want the work-life balance. So you've got to commit to,
and that's okay.
It's right. But they learn to commit to things on the work side that still give them the balance on the life side. And other people outside of that don't see them doing it the way we did it need to understand. We have to kind of redefine.
Right. Yes. I was, as you were saying that, I was thinking about how our message needs to change. When we're when we're interviewing, when we're hiring, during orientation, and during training, that message has to be, here is the commitment you've agreed to as an employee, an agreement of the commitment you've agreed to as a teacher here, or whatever. And I think that goes back to the leader needing to know really what their why is and what their commitment is.
I agree. And then listen, as you say that, at the same time, I have to say to them, this is my commitment to you.
Yes.
I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. I'm here. If you want more education, we'll help you get that. If you have struggles, please come and talk to, it's an open door thing where it's not just all the commitment comes from you to us. We're committing to, we're going to pay you. And if you do these things, we're going to give you a raise. And if you do these things, and we're going to provide benefits. And it's a lot of commitment both ways. And I don't think people really look at it in that particular vein all the time.
Yes, there's a lot of that give and take within the relationship. You know, they need to obviously commit to their organization that they're working for, but we also need to commit to giving them the support that they need. And I think as far as commitment, possibly in previous generations, tell me if this is true or not, this may not be completely accurate, but I think that intensity was part of commitment in your generation. You had to be intense about it all of the time to be fully committed. And I think that I don't know that my generation fully understands this either, but commitment is about consistency more than intensity. So it's the little things that you do every single day that accumulate over time. And I don't think that people necessarily understand that. Being fully committed doesn't mean that you're fully intense, all out, all of the time, 100% of the time, because no one can really handle that, or they shouldn't be able to handle that. So I think that maybe explaining commitment as being consistent, as opposed to being just like, you need to be on call 24/7, I think might help some of the younger generations as well.
Do you think there, as much as there is an assumption on our part, is there an assumption on theirs as well?
Yes, I think that a lot of, okay, so I'm speaking as a millennial. So we watched our parents, work really, really hard for these large companies. They would work for them for 20, 30 years. And then 2008 came and they were just gone. And so I think I know that from millennials, that's really impacted. And then it's just gotten a little bit worse from there, the perspective of what commitment is, or I guess how they view commitment in the workplace. So I definitely think that's part of it, that there is this belief, I guess, that if you're fully committed, you're basically selling your soul in a sense, if that makes sense to you guys.
Yes.
As opposed to having that work-life balance they all want, because they saw parents and their grandparents work really, really hard. And then for what? Some people are unable to retire. Some people got fired for no really good reason, just by a large corporation, just because, they did what they had to do. As a business owner, I understand what that looks like as well.
Right.
So it's interesting to watch. And I know that whenever I was working in the Washington, D.C. area, that was my perspective. I had not been a boss yet or anything like that. That was definitely my perspective, though, is that, like, this is great for a while, but I'm not going to commit my entire life to this. And I just think that it's gotten passed down to the next generation, and they just view it as even more in those terms.
I agree with what y'all are saying. And as you were talking, a couple of things came to mind. I think from the leader standpoint, we have to lead by example. I've said it, we have to be consistent, as you said, from person to person. Because if I'm willing to do it for this person, I better be willing to do it for the next person. Maybe not exactly identical, because I need time off to take care of my mother, but you need time off for your children. Somebody who doesn't have a child needs time off for something else. Yeah, that kind of thing. So consistency. So don't be letting somebody, because they see that and they call you out on it. But all of that goes to building trust. And that's a big part of commitment, is that they trust us, we trust them. And that's relational. And that's something that I don't think we spend a lot of time doing, or enough time doing. And I talk to my directors about it all the time, because if you connect with those people, they'll stay because they know you care about them. So I'm committed to you, because not just because you showed up today. And I'm not saying go in and be nosy, but have enough time with them that you understand what what they do for recreation, what kind of music just little conversational things that show you're getting to know them as a person, not just as an employee and dollars on the balance sheet. I think this is what these people are looking for. They're looking for relationships, not just a job.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that 100%, because I think that a lot of times they walk in to an interview or into accepting a position with, basically the same kind of attitude that I had back in 2008, whenever I was job searching, I know I'm just a number. Well, we have to prove to them as leaders that they're not just a number, that they're important, and then build that relationship. I think that's so good, Babette.
Well, what I find out is if we don't do it, they will do it for each other. And then sometimes you get clicks, and then sometimes one leaves and they all leave. I mean, they're looking for a relationship somewhere, somehow. And it's great if you can do it for the whole team, even better. But
It's part of the culture that is built.
yes.
I think that on our part as leaders, being fully committed means that giving our staff, our teachers, the support that they need. I also think that it comes down to, you know, being very clear about the expectations and accountability, and just remembering that teaching them what commitment is, and that may not mean what they think it means. It may mean teaching them the small steps that they need to take to get better. And maybe that it's about, comes down to the consistency. It comes down to the smaller things that's part of the commitment, as opposed to just going full hard, all out, all the time, kind of intensity. Yes.
Exactly. I think one of the takeaways is to sit down and think about how you relate to the people on your team, what your commitment is to each of them. Yeah, I mean, do you spend more time talking to this person than you do to that person? You know, what is your current commitment to each person, and how do you need to revisit that, and maybe, you know, not just go in and upset, but figure out a better way to communicate with each of them so they find that commitment that you're trying to get to them. Because we don't look at it that way. We stand right there in the middle of it. Back up a little bit and look at the whole, even to your administration, your leadership team, and then down to everybody in the center. Everybody's important or they wouldn't be there. So each person individually in their position and in their doing. One of my philosophies is the floater needs to be one of the strongest people in your school. And they tend to take the last person or the youngest one, whatever, and let them float but they can't, because they touch everything. And so that's where, you know, you need to be committed to whoever's going to be the floater, that they understand why you want them to float, why you need them to float. Some teachers don't want to. They want their classroom. They want to. You have to be a really strong person and very flexible to float well. But that's what we need. And then all of the support team is just as important. And I don't think they get enough attention from us, and let them know that we're just as committed to them as we are to anybody in that building, whether it's the longest term person or the newest person coming in. And I think the more we see it, once it's brought to our attention, we see it a lot more. Yeah. When we don't think about it, it's just kind of way back, gets pushed way back. But when you make an intentional effort to sit down and think through it, it becomes much more clear to you where you are committed and where maybe not as strongly committed.
Maxwell, the quote that John Maxwell uses a lot, that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that made me think about what we're encapsulating here is the need, if we were to kind of put this together on what leaders can do for their teams, is to really recraft your message. So one, knowing what your message is. What are you committed to? What does commitment mean to you? How are you going to communicate that to others? And I like what you said, Babette, in the fact that it's not just what you say, it's what you do. And I never put together that whole idea, Lindsay, that said the younger generations are looking as commitment more as consistency, not intensity. That is powerful, and that needs to be in front of us all the time. Again, changing up that message. I think the whole idea of the different generations seeing how commitment worked itself out in different workplaces is another powerful statement that we need to keep in mind. And leading by example, realizing it's all about trust, has to be a relation, building that culture. So it's not just about us changing our message, or it's not just about the younger generations learning what we mean. It really is all of us learning to listen, watch, and learn from each other in order to create the consistent culture we're really looking for. If you enjoyed today's video, would you do us the favor of liking and subscribing? It's important for us to be able to get this information out to you, and we need your help. We look forward to seeing you next time.